I think I finally did it. It's episode 99, and I believe that my new home studio is ready. It's done. It's complete. I get to lean back on the couch. I don't even have shoes on, so I can tuck my feet under my legs, which is normally how I sit practically everywhere. I don't know if any of you do that, but I finally feel like I've set up a space to be a room where I get to hang out, relax, and lean back and talk about albums. It's about time, 99 episodes in. But I'm excited that it happened there because I'm about to hit my 100th episode. And I cannot have made it this far without you coming back all the time, listening to this show, whether it has a guest or not, but supporting me. And so for that, I'm truly, truly thankful. And if this is your first time hearing this podcast, I'm Jacob Givens. I'm a music lover, not a music critic. And that's why I made this show. I wanted it to celebrate artists and bands and things that I love and invite guests on to talk about what they love. And that is the kind of culture that I want to create on the internet and in the world, is that of loving things. I have kind of an interesting story up top that I'll tell once we kick in with things. But the album that we're doing today, this is one of my top albums of all time. And whether you're really familiar with the concept or genre of post-rock, or you're not really that familiar, for some of you, an album that doesn't have any singing on it might be a deal breaker. But if that had tended to be the case in the past, I'd like you to give a chance to at least this album. If you were ever going to give an instrumental post-rock, which I mean, the band doesn't usually even think of themselves as that either, but if you were going to give a chance to one, I want it to be this one. It's an important record in the genre. It's an important record to me. And it's definitely in my top 10 of all time. So when it came time to sit down for my 99th episode and talk about an album in depth that means a lot to me, I had to choose Explosions in the Sky. The Earth is not a cold, dead place. It is phenomenal. So, with all the fanfare in the world, it is time to talk about Explosions in the Sky. The Earth is not a cold, dead place. Let's go.
Things are gonna change. I can feel it.
If this gonna be that kind of party, I'm gonna...
Waterproof Records. Waterproof Records. Waterproof Records with Jacob Givens.
All right, so we want to, of course, kick off the episode with thanking DistroKid for supporting the show, and make sure you're using my link, distrokid.com/VIP/waterproof. That way you can save 30% off your first year. You could be finishing up that project you're working on of you doing sound bowls, and you want to get your sound bowl recordings out there to get people in a trance-like state. Well, if you click on distrokid.com/VIP/waterproof, then you get 30% off your uploads, and then it's everywhere. It's on YouTube, it's on Spotify, it's on Apple Music, it's on Deezer, it's on every single place you can share that amazing Sound Bowl album that you've been working on. So, what are you waiting for? Use it, do it. All right, I wanted to tell a funny story about why I said the thing up top about being a music lover and not a critic. That is definitely something I'm going to start using more in the videos that I put out in the world, because it's a good reminder to anybody who's finding me, stumbling across my stuff. I am not like a lot of music creators out there where they would like to share what they think is good, but also what they think is bad, or why this album, bumped the microphone, why this album is better than that one, or why this is better than that, or why this album went south, or why the singer lost something, or the guitar player's not as good anymore. And honestly, while I might have those feelings about things in my life, albums that mean more, I don't want that to ever be the purpose of what I put out there, because there's plenty of that. If you want to go watch a music criticism channel or listen to a music criticism podcast, they exist in droves. There's plenty of opportunities for people to dissect and tear apart why something doesn't work or it's not as good as. But I really love creating things that are about the music that I love and I enjoy. And sure, there's been moments in the podcast and the show where I've talked about maybe a song on the album that didn't quite connect or click for me. But I do try my best to never yuck your yum. If you're crazy about an artist that doesn't work for me, and if I have in the past, if I've said something negative or disparaging about somebody or an artist and you were like, hey, I really love them, I do try to steer clear away from that, but it will happen from time to time because I'm human. But I want to just put things out there that are good and positive, and I think that's the goal and aim of Waterproof Records and all the videos that I make. And one of the reminders I had just this morning. So I made this video that's now everywhere, and I know everybody's sick of it by now. It used the Goo Goo Dolls song Iris, and it's the trend, which is dad or mom or whoever. What did you look like in the 90s? And then it proceeds to show photos of the person the way they looked in the 90s. And it's been handled in a very humorous way. Comedians have used it and swapped it out for other people to make a punchline. There's been people who have been very sarcastic. But honestly, this trend was maybe 3 weeks ago now. And I saw it because I think I saw Kevin Bacon do it on TikTok and then Mario Lopez. So I saw it very early on and I was like, oh, I think that this would be a super cool thing for my audience because I make things a lot about the 90s and when I was a teenager. So I made that video. I came out here and I found a bunch of photos. I had like 50 photos and I had to really whittle them down to my favorites. And I made it and I set it to the beats of the Goo Goo Dolls song Iris because that's what the video was that I saw. I chose it because I was like, oh, I really like how the song presents them in that rhythmic way, right? Because initially I thought this is a template that Kevin Bacon used. And I went searching in TikTok and I could not find this template. So I just grabbed a snippet of the song and I timed out each of those photo hits to land with the music. And maybe now there is a template, which makes it a lot easier on everybody else. So I made it, and I made a video about the fact that it got super viral on Facebook, and it's at 3.2 million views now. So a lot of people were very confused on Facebook as to, who the hell I was and why were they getting fed my videos. And that's not the point of the story that I'm about to tell you. The point of the story I'm about to tell you is I got sent this video of another music content creator who gets on Instagram and he says, I want to remind everybody that song sucks. That's what he says. He says in his video, he's like, that song sucks. And we hated it back then. And it was lame and it was cheesy and it was douchebaggy. And everybody's like looking back so fondly using this song. And it's a terrible song. I got sent this video and I laughed because I was like, I'll be honest, I was a little bit more snobby in my high school days, and there was definitely types of music that I shit canned, and I just said, oh, it's the worst. And I had a lot more of that, gatekeepy, this is good, this is bad attitude when I was growing up. I definitely did. So I had seen that my brother had commented on it about how he didn't like it either, and I laughed to myself, and I was like, I apologize that I contributed to the trend. This is all true. And what I was laughing about was the sentiment when that song came out for people who are my age, 47. When it came out, most of us who liked grunge and alternative and rock or anything like On 120 Minutes or Headbangers Ball we were kind of anti that song because it was radio friendly and it was at the time something that I would have been like, no, not at all. I would have changed this station. So I commented that on this video. And by the next morning, I saw people writing things like, oh no, Jacob, not you too. And kind of it breaking their heart, that I would have said it wasn't a good song after all. And then a friend of mine got in there and was like, no, this is a gem. Don't apologize for it. And I wasn't really taking that too seriously. And then before I knew it, people were beginning to fight in the comments because of my comment. It's good. It's bad. You suck. You're an idiot. Oh no. I deleted the comment off the video. I deleted it because I was like, that was stupid. I don't want to contribute to the negativity in this world, like the Goo Goo Dolls song Iris. And actually now when I hear it and I've seen them live, I enjoy it because it takes me back. It takes me back to that time. It is kind of, looking fondly at your past. And if Goo Goo Dolls Iris came on, or when I saw them in concert, I enjoyed it. I was like, this is a good song from that era. But my comment in the video was kind of confessing, when I was a teenager, I was a dick about it. And as soon as I put that out there, it just started to create just bad vibes. It just started to I started seeing the energy of people getting on guard or defending or working hard to insult something. And I was like, I am not about it. And I'm not being critical of people who do. If you love making a video and saying, this song sucks, this song blows, by all means, do it. But I'm finding so much more joy in my life. I am finding so much more joy that I only spend time on things that I love. That's what I spend it on. And I am telling you, it is paying back in dividends. I am feeling different a lot of the time. So I want to encourage you, if you're one of those people who goes out into the world and finds a video and you comment, this sucks, or I don't like this, your time is so much better served not doing that. I promise you. Think about living in the real world. Like if you hated ice cream, would you go down the street and walk into an ice cream store, walk in and say, I hate ice cream, to everybody who's eating ice cream? Why would you do that? That's insane. That's an insane thing to do. Yet it's become so normalized to go into a space where people are celebrating or enjoying something that they love and saying that you don't like it or that it sucks. It's just wasted energy. Walk to the store of the thing that you love and go love it. Right? So that's the energy. That's the vibe of Waterproof Records. And I wanted to start the show with that because I was reminded by commenting the universe that we're creating over here, the Waterproofian space, is that of go into the stores of the things you love, admire the things you love, share with me the things that we love together. And I promise you, it just generates more love, more good feelings. I promise. Rant over. Here it is. If you're watching the show, you see behind me, I have on vinyl, The Earth is Not a Cold, Dead Place by Explosions in the Sky. It's sitting right behind me. I have my now playing stand and it's right there. And I brought it over because I did want to pull out the vinyl because there's something cool on the D side of the second vinyl. And I wanted to show that on the show. So are you familiar with this band, Explosions in the Sky? I think the name might be self-explanatory. It definitely comes from a group of guys that were thinking of, fireworks. They were, having a conversation or observing them. I don't know exactly, but that is where the name comes from. Explosions in the Sky. The three members of the band are actually from Texas, and the drummer is from Illinois. I want to say Rockford, I believe. But the members of the band are Chris Hrasky, Michael James, Munaf Rayani, and Mark Smith. And I hope I pronounced all of their names correctly. And then sometimes Carlos Torres is a multi-instrumentalist that tours on the road with them, plays on stage with them. And that's been on and off again, for a period of time, then gone, then back. But the core of the band are the four: Chris Hrasky, Michael James, Munaf Rayani, and Mark Smith. And it starts in 99. Chris is, I believe, in Texas, and he's putting up flyers everywhere for this. He wants to have a band, and he finds these three guys. And at first, the name of their band is Breaker Morant, Breaker Morant, which is named after a 1980 Australian film. That's the first name of the band. And they play their first show together in 1999. And this scene of music, it's not that they're the first, but I would say they're some of the godfathers of this entire movement. Absolutely. The idea of creating what is classical music, symphonies, but with guitars, drum, bass, some keyboard usage in the studio, but mostly those stripped down raw ingredients. They are so important to this movement, and I am a big fan. Sigur Rós is definitely a part of this as well. Hammock, Pelican, God is an Astronaut. There's an extensive list of phenomenal bands in this genre that I love. I'm drawing a blank on some, but so many. And when I was researching this record, I came across a couple forums, and apparently this album, The Earth Is Not a Cold Dead Place, ends up in memes, sometimes kind of made fun of as being like the mostly widely accepted as a great post-rock album, or it's recommended too frequently. You know, it's like kind of cliche. There was a forum that talked about it like that, and it was saying that this album tends to be like in movies, Citizen Kane. Citizen Kane is often by film students is said like, oh, it's the greatest film of all time. And so over time, while it is an incredible film, it starts to sound like it's a stock answer. It starts to sound like, well, I'd love to hear something a little bit more unique. And so apparently according to this forum, this album in particular is kind of given that title because it's so highly regarded. And as I was reading people's responses, and they were like, oh yeah, there's so many other bands that do it better, and it's just like such a basic choice. And I'm like, this is for me, I'm going to say right now emotionally, this is the most important one because I remember hearing it around that time, 2003, 2004. I can't remember exactly if I heard it immediately or right around then when my brother told me about him, and I was floored, absolutely blown away, changed. This is in my top 10 albums of all time. It's all instrumental. There's no singing. It's all guitars and drums and bass. And it is like a classical movement, a story. It'll make you feel like you're listening to, you know, like a Beethoven symphony. You sit down and you just lock in for the time, the run of the album. And it has only on it five songs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, with a runtime of 45 minutes. First Breath After Coma, The Only Moment We Were Alone, 6 Days at the Bottom of the Ocean, Memorial, and Your Hand in Mine. So only 5 songs in this 45-minute album, and that's because each song is a classical piece. It's a symphony. It's orchestral, but it's done with rock instruments. And I am going to be in the audio version of the pod playing segments, but to only choose 30 seconds of these pieces of music is going to be torture for me because so much of it is about the build up, the emotion, the intensity of the song. And it not only is it, I can't speak enough about how important this album is. And I'm gonna try to talk about that, but it has so much meaning for me. So much. Then on the drive here home to record this, I played it in the car and I cried. I cried so hard. And it's because First Breath After Coma, that first song, that's the one, when you hear those 4 ringing guitar notes at the beginning, it immediately transports me into the world of explosions in the sky. This universe that I'm about to enter into. And my oldest son and I don't have much overlap in terms of music that we share together. He appreciates all mine. I appreciate all of his. But ever since he was little, he has found his own way, as most children do. You know, if you're like a crazy obsessed Star Wars dad, you're lucky if your kid ends up liking Star Wars, because it's like sometimes when a parent loves something too much, it's like the kid doesn't always follow in the same footsteps. They forge their own path. Now, my oldest, he loves music. He's moved by it. We've sat in the car and I've played him this song by Muse that he really likes, or I've played him this song by Manchester Orchestra that he really likes. And I've shown him some other things and he's like, that's really good. But he, through his own development and interests and discovering YouTube artists and being interested in gaming music and video game scores and this universe that's created because this YouTuber created a song inspired by this game franchise, and it's much more digital or ambient or beat driven. So he's found his own way, but Explosions in the Sky is our overlap. It's the biggest one. The first live music show that I ever took him to go see when he was 16 was Explosions in the Sky on the End tour. I was bummed they didn't play First Breath After Coma, because that's totally our song. I was bummed that it didn't happen, but we were so happy to be there together. It was at the Wiltern, and I have down here. Here is the End vinyl that I own this as well, because this is the last album that they put out in 2023, and it was this tour, the End tour, and we went and saw it together. So it's incredibly meaningful to me, and he really loves moving on off of this album, but we'll cover that on another episode. But the earth is not a cold, dead place. Let's get back to the album I'm talking about. First Breath After Coma. Even that title, right? When you hear First Breath After Coma, you're like, what a visual. The first breath after being kind of out of your body, coming to. The band has described this album as their attempt to write love songs. And as soon as I read that, I was like, oh, that's why it's my favorite album. Because there's longing in this album. There's hope. It has a lot of hopeful energy. It has a lot of sorrow. While post-rock runs the gambit of different kinds of feelings and emotion, there is something about this one. The title of the album is The Earth is Not a Cold, Dead Place. This is why I had the speech at the beginning. It's not a cold, dead place. It's alive. The earth is alive and we are alive. And we're filled with joy and sadness. We're all things. It's just, we're buzzing down here. We're buzzing on this planet. And these songs buzz. They feel like a life worth living, trying, falling in love and falling out of love, living and dying, first breath after coma, resuscitated. Pardon the theatrics, but when it comes to this album, it's hard not to be. But that first song is me and my oldest son, Ewan's favorite song together. And so it will always mean the world to me. The second track is The Only Moment We Were Alone. This is the longest piece on this album. It's 10 minutes and it goes into a lot of different directions. So when you look at the amount of listens, this is like in second place on streaming. So this one gets played quite significantly off of this album. But we'll get to the number one most streamed one. Not that really matters, but I think what I'm more interested in is what is getting popular now. What is over the past 10 years really gained interest for this band, since this album is from 2003. Earth is Not a Cold, Dead Place, released in November of 2003. So it celebrated its 20th anniversary a couple years ago. So we'll be coming up on the 25th anniversary in 2028. But that I'm just curious to see what's gotten more attention from this band, because they have a bunch of other albums. They've done a lot of soundtracks, and a lot of their work is really good. I have The Rescue, which this was an album that they put out as kind of a challenge to themselves. I think it was all recorded like in one span of a week, and really wouldn't allow them to, do anything. Yeah, it's day one, day two. You had to do very minimal things to it. I do love this album, and you used to only ever be able to get it at live shows. The band has a bunch of fantastic albums. They have Take Care, Take Care, Take Care. They have All of a Sudden I Miss Everyone, The Wilderness. Just, a great collection of albums, and I highly recommend you check out all of them. But again, I'm choosing this one because it's my number one. It's the most important album to me. And I thought, if I'm only going to get a chance to convince you to listen to one post-rock instrumental album, then please try this one. So in the title of The Only Moment We Were Alone, this one does have all of the titles they do. If you think about them, you can play out scenes from films, made up stories in your head to these songs. And this is one of them because you've got quite a journey from start to finish of The Only Moment We Were Alone. Before I move on to track 3, this was the song that I cried in my car. And it happened because I had just gone through the first track, thinking about my son. And then I started to think about a video that I'd like to create about this album and the way that it makes me feel. So that started making me thinking about my life and pictures and photos and my journey thus far. While I'm listening to this song, it comes to this very quiet lull. Everything drops out. It's just these lonely guitars really getting soft and quiet. And then out of nowhere, it bursts into this intensity of these notes just slamming down. And that's when I began to cry. I began to cry because it was like my entire life was just pouring out of my skin. And I couldn't hold on anymore. And that's the moment that it happened. All right, track 3, 6 Days at the Bottom of the Ocean. Wow. That title, for me, really sets up the feeling of this song. So before you hit play on it, it does sound like an aquatic adventure. And this is what I always experience when I listen to this song. The beginning part of Six Days at the Bottom of the Ocean is it sounds like a tragic sinking, like plummeting to the deep abyss of the ocean, falling and falling and falling. And so there's this sense of loss, of leaving something behind, until at kind of a point in the song, it changes. And it becomes a little bit more hopeful, like maybe things are going to start differently. And for me, this always felt like, or at least this is the movie that plays in my mind, as it's this falling, this giving up, this drowning. But then once you reach the bottom of the ocean, it's like another world awaits there for you, like in the film The Abyss. It's like once you've reached past the point of death and surrender, you're now living like in a dreamland, an aquatic other world where you can begin again. And you're surrounded by beautiful colors and coral and fish. And it's like you can breathe, like you have gills. And you're going to live this subterranean life, alien-like, another world. You can finally have no pain and no suffering, and you get to stay there. But then it begins to build in intensity. The drum kick starts to go. The pace of the song picks up almost like a heartbeat, like you were dreaming in your falling, like you had somehow flatlined for a moment and reached a heaven, an afterlife, a universe, an out-of-body experience, no pain. But then the pace begins to quicken, your heart begins to quicken, you're running out of air. You need to get back to the surface. You need to get out of there. You can't give up. You have to return to your life. It's not time yet. And for me, that song quickens with so much urgency by the end. And so I experience kind of a death and rebirth when I listen to 6 Days at the Bottom of the Ocean. Number 4, Memorial. This one begins with guitars in single tones. Sounds like they might be using an ebow, which is just this magnetic device that causes your string to shake just a little bit. It almost makes this humming noise. The Pumpkins would use them a lot. A lot of musicians use them, but it kind of has this ebow, like you're using a bow across your string. And the way that they hum kind of in these tones and chords together, it's just very still. Memorial feels like maybe candlelight, like we're beginning to remember. I had to hit play over there for a second because I wanted to bring myself back into it. Such a much more slow, still beginning for Memorial. what I thought was the most interesting about this song was it was the least streamed song from the album compared to all the other ones. This is listened to the lesser amount, but it ends so intense and strong, just bursting, heavy, full, hitting the drums hard. The guitars are full and loud and distorted, and we really feel so much intensity by the end of Memorial. But it is one heck of a journey. And like so many of these songs, like I said, they're trying to write love songs. Each piece of music could be telling someone's love story of what they went through, what they endured. And a song like Memorial maybe gives you the feeling that, remembering love lost, looking back of what you once had and can't have anymore. Who knows? It's one of the joys of instrumental music is there's really just feeling. There's no lyrics. There's no tether. Nobody has to say it means this. It means whatever you want it to mean. These pieces of music can take me right back in time and fill me with so much feeling and emotion that I'm just weeping in my car, experiencing them. And that song will do it to you. Now we reached the last song on the album, Your Hand in Mine. I'm in a music league, which is this app. There's this app where you can play games with a bunch of other people where you get categories of songs that you choose. And then there's voting. It's fun. It's all right. Everybody else in the group, I think, is 10 years younger than me, maybe even younger. And so oftentimes I feel like I'm the only one making the choices that I do. And I feel kind of like I'm too old to be in this group. But we recently had one where it was like in this love category, it was like put a love song in there, a song about a love story. And the one caveat in this music league was it had to be instrumental. I chose this one, Your Hand in Mine. This song, Your Hand in Mine, that visual for me is perfect. Joining hands together. This song is the grab my hand, we will endure. We will get through it. We will jump off the ledge together. We will walk through the fire together. Your hand in mine, there's nothing we can't overcome. And this is the most listened to song on here. This one seems to be the most popular, so maybe it lands itself in TV shows or commercials, or if people want an example of what Explosions in the Sky sounds like, it definitely is at the high top of the list of one of the songs that people know the most. But it is the most hopeful, triumphant closing to this album, to this 45-minute cinematic ride, that when you finish Your Hand in Mine, I am filled with hope. I am filled with things are going to be okay. We're going to get through this. We're going to survive. Because maybe it's not necessarily your hand in mine as in you and another person. Maybe it's your hand. I'm talking to you, world, and mine. Maybe it's us together. Maybe it's what we're choosing to love and give our attention to. Maybe your hand in mine, we can do this. We can continue to exist and bring others love and light and music and celebration and dance. Your hand in mine. I'm so happy that on episode 99, I got to land on this. I could talk about this album forever. It's funny because I expected this episode to run like an hour and a half, but honestly, it doesn't have to take that long because there's 5 songs. There's no lyrical content. I don't have a ton of stories about the band. All I have on this really is just the feeling, discovering them. And so this is the most heartfelt, lay it bare. Listen to this record, I promise you. And if it's not your thing, it's not your thing. I'm not going to force you. You don't have to enjoy what I enjoy. But there are a couple things that I wanted to say before I wrapped up the episode. Some fun facts that, that you would be interested in knowing. Like I said, they formed in Austin, Texas in 99. Chris Rasky is from Rockford, Illinois. The rest of the guys are from Midland, Texas. And like I said, they had the name Breaker Marant before they became Explosions in the Sky. And then that band name came from after they were leaving the first show that they played at KVRX. And that the noise or sight of fireworks is what was inspired. So additionally, there was a little bit of a controversy that surrounded them. They got some media attention. I thought this was really cool. I didn't know this because this is before I knew about them. I didn't know about Explosions in the Sky until The Earth Is Not a Cold Dead Place. But before that, when they released the album, Those Who Will Tell the Truth Shall Die, Those Who Tell the Truth Shall Live Forever, that released in early September of 2001. And apparently inside the liner notes, they had a picture of a plane and it had a caption that said, "This plane will crash tomorrow." So at the time, only a few days later, September 11th would happen, and people got all conspiracy theoried, like they predicted it, and they even, there was a time where I believe Michael James, the bass player, got detained at the airport because he had a guitar case that had a sticker that said, this plane will crash tomorrow. And this was just kind of a theme, an idea that the band had been dreaming up for since the year prior. It was just this idea, this concept that was part of the album, but it just so happened that they had put that in the liner notes, and then September 11th happened, and then it created this what a crazy coincidence. Now, thankfully, they weren't like Jimmy Eat World, for example. They had their album Bleed American, and it literally was coming out right as September 11th happened. And I remember they had to pull that off the shelves or take the title off because it was just a bad time to be calling an album Bleed American. But thankfully, since this was in the liner notes, they could continue to distribute this album, and I thought that was interesting. I never knew that. And then also they received a lot of attention because they opened for Fugazi in spring of 2002, which I didn't know that either. And I did promise you before we get out of here. Now, no, this doesn't apply to you listening, but I did promise you that I would open up the record to show you the neat thing that's on the back before we get out of here. So if you open up the vinyl, and then I'm going to get to the second LP, okay? Because there's two in here, and then you pull it out. This is one thing that the band has done. On the D side, it's not playable. I don't know if you can see this, but they have etched in the bottom. They have a bunch of these birds carved in there like that. And then it says, "The earth is not a cold, dead place because you are breathing, because you are listening." That's it. This is why I wanted to share this. The earth is not a cold, dead place because you are breathing, because you are listening. That's carved into here. That's etched into the D side of this vinyl. You can't play it, but that is what a thing to include. So I had to share that with you because that's the perfect way to close out this episode. Remember that. The earth is not a cold, dead place because you are breathing, because you are listening. That hits me. I don't know if that hits you, but that hits. So I have to be so careful as I put this back because you know how people freak out when you handle records wrong on the internet. Oh, wow. We did it. We recorded an episode on my new camera, my new setup in the finalized studio, and fingers crossed, I have a guest on episode 100 pending, and I think you're going to be pretty excited about it. But thank you for joining me for this episode on Waterproof Records. I want to give a huge shout out to Pantheon Podcasts for making me a part of their network. I can't do the show without Pantheon Podcasts. They are the experts of music podcasts. They have so many great ones, including yours truly, Waterproof Records. So thanks for joining me here, and thanks Pantheon Podcast for making it possible. And then finally, of course, remember distrokid.com/VIP/waterproof. Get that 30% off. You'd be crazy not to use it. That's why I tell you every week. I know you get sick of me saying it, but I have to tell you so you can take advantage. But that was Explosions in the Sky, and I am just so excited that I finally covered that record on the show. It means the world to me. Honestly, if I had the album playing on the episode, like I will cut it in later, but I just would have been reduced to blubbering mess of tears this entire time. So be thankful that that's not what this was. It would just be me the whole time, just weeping, because that's what that record does. Anyway, thank you for taking the time. Thank you for spending it with me. I hope you enjoyed this. If you love this album, I hope it made you feel some things as we revisited it together. If you didn't know about it and I'm sharing it with you for the first time, please, after this episode or whenever, listen to it. Put on some headphones, lay down, lay on the ground outside, put in some earbuds, and let this thing take you away on a beautiful, emotional, symphonic love song journey of these pieces of music. And that's it for me. For Waterproof Records. Once again, this has been Jacob Gibbons. I'm a music lover, not a music critic. And these have been your unsinkable tunes of the past, present, and future on Waterproof Records. And I'll see you next time. Bye.
Things are gonna change, I can feel it.
If this gonna be that kind of party, I'm gonna
Waterproof Records.